Today's lesson is Small but Significant, Vatican City and the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. Hi everyone, I'm Mike.
I am Roger.
And today we are talking about Vatican City, one of the smallest countries or the smallest country in the world, and Malta, one of the smallest islands in the Mediterranean and another very small country, but they have a very long history together that ties their histories going back hundreds and hundreds of years. And apparently there is a sovereign military order of Malta, but it has a connection to Vatican City. Yes, Vatican City is in Italy. Malta is near Italy, but they're not part of Italy, but still their histories are very tightly intertwined.
Right, and so these are small little governments that exist in the world. There are a lot of them in Europe. There's like, Monaco and Andorra.
Sure,
and
Liechtenstein.
Exactly, they're very small, and they're kind of left over from historical events in the past. But it's kind of fun to talk about them, and we're going to be focusing specifically on Vatican City, which is where the Pope is, and we're going to be talking about something called the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, which actually doesn't really have any territory. That's interesting. Let's find out what this is all about. Let's listen to the first part of our lesson, and we'll be right back.
Small but significant, Vatican City and the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. There aren't many countries in the world that one can walk across in less than an hour, and there are even fewer sovereign entities that possess no territory at all. However, because of Vatican City and the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, SMOM, such sovereignties do exist.
大家好，标题中介绍形容词 sovereign， 它的意思是具有独立主权的，或是拥有最高统治权的。例如 The king has sovereign power over the land, and all of his decisions are final. 国王对这片土地拥有至高无上的权利，他的所有决定都是最终决定。或者 India became a sovereign state in 1950. 印度在1950年成为具独立主权的国家。再来看到动词 possess， 表示拥有或是具有。例如 My dream is to possess a lot of different abilities. 我的梦想是拥有很多不同能力。或是Andy possesses a strong will to help others. Andy 具有帮助他人的坚强意志。
All right, here we are with the first part of our article. So let's get into it and find out more about how the Vatican City and Malta's history has created this sovereign military order of Malta. It says there aren't many countries in the world that one can walk across in less than an hour, and there are even fewer sovereign entities that possess no territory at all. Yeah, I would say that's probably pretty true. You'd be hard-pressed to find a country smaller than the Vatican City. This is a country so small that you can walk across it in less than an hour, and probably faster if there aren't any tourists there. Vatican City, of course, is in the middle of the city of Rome. If you've been to St. Peter's Basilica, if you've been to see the Pope, been to see the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, you have been in the Vatican City. It is a country, but it is very, very tiny, and it's kind of a country because Italy allows it to be a country, because it is a sovereign entity that possesses no territory. It actually has none of its own land. The land has kind of been lent to it or given to it by the country of Italy. So it's a sovereign entity, an entity just being some kind of thing that exists. You are a human entity, I guess we could say. This is more of a political or a sovereign entity, a country, in other words. Sovereign, meaning it's independent, it rules itself, it makes its own laws and has its own borders and leaders. But it is a very small country or a very small sovereign entity. In this case, when we say sovereign entity, you can kind of read it as a country, and it has or owns or controls or possesses no territory at all. As we say, it's just land that has been given over by the city of Rome and the government of Italy in order to allow the Vatican City, or the Papal States, as they were formerly called, to exist there.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about Vatican City and something called the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. And because of Vatican City, however, And because of the sovereign military order of Malta, such sovereignties do exist. So we've got the word sovereignty here. And notice in the title, we've also got the word sovereign. First of all, let's talk about the one in the title here. Sovereign is an adjective. It just refers to a country having the right and the ability to take care of itself, to determine its own future. A sovereign nation, for example, not to be controlled by another one. And sovereignty, of course, in this particular case, refers to the actual country that does that. So these are sovereignties, or these are countries that do control themselves and they're not controlled by others.
Very, very interesting. All right, so we're going to find out more all about this in the second part of our article, specifically Vatican's unique status as the world's smallest country. Surrounded by Rome, Italy, and with a total area of just 0.44 square kilometers, Vatican City is the smallest fully independent country in the world. Unlike most sovereign states, it holds a unique status as both a religious and political entity. As the headquarters of the Catholic Church, it bears immense religious significance for the more than 1.3 billion Catholics worldwide. At the same time, the Pope serves not only as the Church's spiritual leader, but also as Vatican City's head of state.
第二部分看到形容词 immense， 它的意思是广大的、巨大的，也可以是出色的或是极好的意思。例如 An immense fire destroyed the building， 一场大火摧毁了这栋建筑物。也可以说 The YouTube star has an immense amount of followers， 那个 YouTube 红人的追踪者为数众多。
Okay, so we're going to focus first of all on Vatican City, surrounded by Rome, Italy, and with a total area of just 0.44 square kilometers. Vatican City is the smallest fully independent country in the world. So this is our topic for this particular paragraph, the Vatican City, and it's surrounded by Rome, Italy. So yes, if you've ever been there, it's totally surrounded by Italy itself. There are very few countries in the world that are totally surrounded by another country. I think there's one in South Africa that is totally surrounded by South Africa. Yeah, that sounds right. And in any case, this one is totally surrounded by Rome, which is in Italy. So I guess Vatican City is surrounded by two entities, a city and a country. This is a particular entity in Italy, and it is the smallest fully independent country in the world. If you've ever been there, you can brag about that.
Interesting. Unlike most sovereign states, it holds a unique status as both a religious and political entity. That is also a very unique situation. So unlike most sovereign states or countries, Vatican City holds a unique status, a very, very special, very unusual status. It is a both religious, because it is the home of the Catholic Church, and it is also a political, because it is an independent country. It is both a religious and political entity. As the headquarters of the Catholic Church, it bears immense religious significance for the more than 1.3 billion Catholics worldwide. So yes, it is the head of this branch of Christianity, the Roman Catholic Church, or the Catholic Church as it is called here, and it controlled, back in the old days, a large part of Europe and parts of sort of Western Asia. Now it is more of a spiritual center, and of course all Catholics around the world, and there are many of them, as we will see, they kind of look to the Vatican City in Rome as their leader. And of course the Pope, who is the physical leader of the religion and the country of Vatican City, is also the head of state in the Vatican City. So this is the Catholic Church's home, and it bears immense or huge religious significance for the more than 1.3 billion Catholics worldwide. Yes, there are still many, many Catholics worldwide, as the numbers might be dropping in North America and Europe. Numbers are growing in Africa and South America, so it is still a very large, both religious and political force. It is big. It is immense. It is huge, in other words.
And at the same time, the Pope serves not only as the Church's spiritual leader, but also as Vatican City's head of state. He's like the president or the prime minister, but he's also the head of the Catholic Church. And that's the Pope, of course, and he's the spiritual leader. If something's spiritual, it has to do with the spirit or the soul, and therefore that would be religious in nature. Okay, if you're religious, you're probably going to believe that we have a soul that lives on after we die, and therefore you believe in a spirit.
There you go. So the spiritual leader is kind of the head of the Catholic Church, both in reality, as, being the head of state of the Vatican City, and also the leader who a lot of Catholics will look to at religious festivals in times of trouble. They see him as kind of chosen by God to lead them, to lead his flock or his congregation forward into the future. So a very, very important role. They might not have a lot of real physical power. There's no Vatican City military, but of course the Pope's opinion is always very interesting and very much sought after when big events happen around the world, both religious and secular or non-religious. Let's get into the final part of the article. Despite its small size, Vatican City boasts an enormous cultural heritage, thanks to artistic assets ranging from St. Peter's Basilica to the countless masterpieces housed in the Vatican museums. These treasures attract millions of visitors annually from all over, making the city-state one of the world's premier tourist destinations. However, they also result in Vatican City having the highest crime rate in the world, as the hordes of tourists they draw become the targets of purse snatchers and pickpockets.
第三部分看到动词 boast， 它的意思是拥有值得自豪的东西，但也可以是吹嘘或是夸耀的意思。例如 Our baseball team boasts the most wins of any team in our division. 我们的棒球队以在我们部门所有球队中获胜次数最多而自豪。又或者说 Gordon often boasts about how strong he is. Gordon 常常夸耀自己有多强壮。接着介绍名词 heritage， 指的是具有历史文化意义的遗产或是传统。我们可以说The yearly festivals introduce tourists to the tribe's rich cultural heritage. 每年的节庆活动均向游客介绍该部落丰富的文化遗产。又或者说 Norm celebrates his cultural heritage by learning and performing traditional songs. Norm 透过学习和表演传统歌曲来颂扬他的文化传统。再来看到副词 annually， 表示每年的或是一年一度的。例如 The town's harvest festival is held annually. 该镇的丰收季每年举办一次。也可以说 This factory produces about 500,000 cars annually. 这个工厂每年生产约50万辆汽车。最后看到名词 horde， 表示人群。我们可以说 Hordes of shoppers turned out to take advantage of the January sales. 消费者成群结队的抢购1月份的促销活动。也可以说 Jason tried to keep away from the night market hordes whenever he was shopping. Jason 在购物时试图远离夜市的人潮。
Okay, let's talk about the final part of our article for today. Despite its small size, even though it is very small, Vatican City boasts an enormous cultural heritage thanks to artistic assets ranging from St. Peter's Basilica to the countless masterpieces housed in the Vatican museums. Okay, so even though it's very small, it still has a lot of things that have to do with its cultural heritage. To boast here just means it has these things and they're very significant, and they're very proud of those things. So the Vatican City has these great things. It boasts an enormous cultural heritage. And here the word heritage just refers to the traditions that have been passed down by a culture or by a country to their succeeding generations. So it has this long heritage. It has a long history of culture and art and things like that. And that's because of, or thanks to, its artistic assets, which has a range here. We've got a range from the Basilica of St. Peter's, and then we've got masterpieces that are housed in these museums there. They're on the walls. You can go check them out. And, of course, the greatest masterpiece we always talk about is those paintings on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel where God is touching fingers with somebody.
Man, of course, painted very famously over several years by Michelangelo, lying on his back, painting these wonderful, wonderful ceilings that you can still see today. So, yes, if you're into Renaissance art, especially Italian Renaissance art of that period, a lot of it can be found right there in the Vatican. These treasures attract millions of visitors annually from all over, making the city-state one of the world's premier tourist destinations. Absolutely. Not only the masterpieces housed in the museums, a lot of the visitors are coming for spiritual reasons, right? They want to get close to the Pope, maybe be there on a Sunday when he might address huge crowds, or just to visit this place that has been so important for hundreds of years to Catholics all around the world. So annually, millions of visitors will come from all over to visit. So annually, each year, in other words, we're not picking a specific year, but just in your average year, millions of people go. You could say millions of people. I would say millions probably annually visit the Gugong, the National Palace Museum, certainly the Louvre Museum in Paris. Every year, lots of people go, making the city-state one of the world's premier or top tourist destinations. If you look at an actual place that gets an actual number of people every year, one of the places with the most would be the Vatican. Very, very popular tourist destination.
Yep, you might go on a tour of Italy, and of course you'll go see some of the Roman Roman
Colosseum.
ruins, the Colosseum,
Yeah.
and of course you're going to go to Vatican City as
Right.
well. Since you're there, you might as well go check it out. So of course lots of people go check out Vatican City.
For sure.
And of course this has a little bit of a problem though. However, they also result in Vatican City having the highest crime rate in the world.
What?
As the hordes of tourists they draw become the targets of purse snatchers and pickpockets.
Oh.
You'd think that the Pope would do something about that. It's supposed to be a spiritual oasis in the middle of a world of crime and sin and things like that.
But if you're stealing from people right in the Vatican City, and aren't you afraid of going to hell?
Yeah, I certainly would be afraid of that. That would certainly not be good for your karma.
So at least there's not murder and violent crime, but still it's kind of shocking, isn't it?
Right. So we've got hordes of tourists there, large groups of tourists, and of course we've got lots of criminals who see those tourists and think, hey, that would be easy money there. Just go in there and pickpocket them, and you can make tons of money by stealing all those people's wallets. Or you can steal the purses from women because they carry purses around, and they'll probably have money and things inside them, credit cards or whatever. So that's what a purse snatcher is, somebody who steals a woman's purse, and then a pickpocket usually takes someone's wallet out of the pocket of their trousers.
That's right. They will pick the valuable things out of your pockets, either by tricking you, distracting you. Sometimes they cut your pocket and wait for your wallet to slip out. So this is good advice for anyone who's going there. Leave your valuables in your hotel. If you're visiting the Vatican, zip everything up, keep your bag closed, and just be aware when you're in big crowds, because not only at the Vatican, in many crowded places, popular tourist destinations in Europe and elsewhere, purse snatchers, pickpockets, thieves like this can definitely be a problem. I'm just so disappointed that they're doing it in the Vatican. That's terrible.
No. Yeah, I'm not surprised it would happen in Rome or in Paris.
There's a lot of tourists, that's true.
In the Vatican City, though, it's supposed to be a sacred place. You're not supposed to have sin and theft. I think it's one of the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not steal.
There you go.
So, yeah, it's not supposed to happen there, but it does, unfortunately. And we've talked enough about Vatican City in today's program. We're going to switch over and talk about something else. The Sovereign Military Order of Malta. Yeah, we'll talk about that in our next program, but we're going to say goodbye now. But before we do that, we'd like to hear from Hanny, our beloved Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分的最后一句写道， The Pope serves not only as the Church's spiritual leader, but also as Vatican City's head of state. 教宗不仅是教会的精神领袖，也是梵蒂冈城的国家元首。那这边我们来整理一下 not only but also 的用法。 not only but also 这表示不止点点点还怎么样，不仅什么什么而且怎么样。那它是配对连接词，必须用来连接两个词性相同的字词。像课文里它是连接了 as the church's spiritual leader 以及连接了 as Vatican City's head of state。 好，那这边我们也来造一个例句。 She did it not only for herself but also for her children。 她做那件事不只是为了自己，也是为了孩子。好，那现在来看看，如果是连接两个主词的话，动词就是要配合最靠近的主词咯。例如 not only the dining table but also the chairs need to be replaced。 不只是餐桌，还有椅子都需要换掉。这时候动词 need 是配合最靠近的主词 the chairs， 所以我们是用 need 而不是用动词单数 needs。 好，接着呢，如果将这个 not only 摆在句首，用来连接两个子句时，要注意并不是写作 not only 主词加动词 but also 主词加动词的结构哦。首先 not only 后方的子句呢是要倒装，也就是把 be 动词或助动词移到主词前方，就会形成 not only be 动词加主词，或者是 not only 助动词加主词加动词。那至于 but also 在连接子句时， but 和 also 可以择一省略。如果想要保留 also， 这个 also 它必须摆在 be 动词之后，一般动词之前，所以就会写作 but主词 also 动词，或者是 but 主词 be 动词 also 点点点。举例来说， Not only is he a talented actor, but he's also a great singer。 他不仅是个有天分的演员，也是个很出色的歌手。那注意例句里面用到的结构是 Not only is he 点点点 but he's also 点点点。好，那么课文第三部分的第一句有提到，梵蒂冈城拥有大量的文化遗产，这多亏于从圣彼得大教堂到梵蒂冈博物馆收藏的无数杰作的艺术资产。那文中是用到片语介系词 thanks to 来表达多亏于什么什么。Thanks to 后面可以接人或是事物，意思跟 because of 接近。不过呢 thanks to 常用在正面的原因，可以表达出幸亏怎么样，多亏怎么样的语义。像 Thanks to your help, I was able to solve the problem successfully。 多亏你的帮忙，我才能顺利解决问题。好，那另外 thanks to 有时候也会用反讽语气来表达归咎的原因哦，像是Thanks to you, we now have to do it all over again。 因为你，我们现在又必须要重来一遍了，所以这就不是在表达幸亏有你，而是在责怪对方哦。好，那以上今天的重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Sovereign. As a sovereign nation, the small country insisted on governing its affairs without consulting its larger neighbors. Entity.In just a few years, the new company has become a powerful entity in the tech industry. Possess. Brandy possesses a great talent for music. Immense. Professor Blake's library contains an immense collection of books about ancient Egypt. Spiritual. After her mother died, Myra sought comfort in her spiritual beliefs. Boast. The famous hotel boasts beautiful views of the ocean from every room.Heritage. Tomorrow's festival will celebrate the rich heritage of the local community. Annually. The theater has earned millions of dollars annually since it opened. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.